welcome back to Murder Therapy with Dolltok.
Hey, hey,
Are we
hey.
on episode? Is it? No, we're on 8. We're on episode 8 because
I'm
you
glad
and
you
I
know
talked
because I
about
didn't.
this. Well, I had to think about it because remember we talked yesterday about our pre-plan for
Oh,
upcoming
yes.
episodes. Yeah. So we had talked about the
Big number 10.
numbers and yeah, big number 10, which we're not going to say what it is yet, but yeah. So how are things in Ohio?
Uneventful. It's Ohio.
It's Ohio. Well, there's just craziness happening in Virginia. Like, I don't know, there used to not be that much excitement in my town, but we've had a lot of like excitement, like people breaking in Walmart trying to steal guns from the gun cabinet and then
Yeah.
running and eluding from the police to driving into a cop car to just all the things,
You all need more
just
to do.
another. Yeah, they do. They do. Well, when you've been here, we don't have a whole lot to do. So,
Not shit to do.
mm-mm. No, we really don't. But
Yeah.
so tonight we're doing something a little different. Ashley
Yes.
has a case that I have not heard of. Believe it or not, I don't know all true crime. There's some cases that I've never heard of. So Ashley's going to be the one telling our story
I'm
tonight.
taking the
Um,
reins.
she's gave me very little cliff notes. Very, very little. Like I know
It's top secret.
very little. Yeah, I don't know all the nitty gritty. Um, but she's gave me a little bit before. But before we kind of get into who we're covering, because y'all already know I am not a Gypsy Rose Blanchard fan, so and it's kind of like every week I have something else I gotta say about her. If you are not following Nina, the beauty influencer on TikTok, I encourage you to do so. If you are somebody that's not on the Gypsy bandwagon, treating her as a celebrity, because let's be realistic, none of you all should be treating her as a celebrity. She's a murderer. She's not an actress. What, and if she was an actress, she would be a really shitty one. Um, she's not. We should not be idolizing or glamorizing murder. But Nina is, I mean, real time. Listen, the minute she does something stupid, I literally go on Nina's page because I guarantee you Nina's yeah, like,
She's
Nina's
gonna
on
cover
it.
it.
Oh, I love Nina. But so I wanted to bring this up that Nina has a petition, for Nicholas Godejohn, which was Gypsy's boyfriend that she
Mm,
conned into killing the mother.
yes.
He has Asperger's syndrome. They don't diagnose that anymore. It's specifically the autism, the spectrum disorder.
Yeah.
And it's what's really strange is there's a lot of pages like a support groups for Nicholas on like TikTok, Facebook, and they keep getting reported. And she's out of prison now, so think about that. There's
You think she's
suspicion
doing
that
it?
she is. I 100% think she's doing it. Like she does not want him to get an appeal. She's not going to say that she doesn't want him to get an appeal. You know what I mean? Because she can't legally advocate for him, which I get. I understand that and I respect that because that
Yeah.
she would be violating her parole conditions. But he's special needs and she manipulated him and she took advantage of him and she's made posts on Facebook's not Facebook, excuse me. I think it was Instagram that she put this, like somebody was talking about advocating for him and how he is special needs and how special needs individuals, they have a tendency to be impulsive. Like if they get overstimulated, they're
Yeah.
not going to make the right choice in the moment. And she specifically said, and you can look it up, there's screenshots because once you put that shit out there on the internet, it's out there. She said he's not as sick as what he claims to be. And then when someone said, because at the time her and Ryan were still married, you're married to a special education teacher. And she said, well, I advocate for those that are nonverbal and like more severe. And it's like, it's called autism spectrum disorder
Yeah.
for a reason. It's on the spectrum. I don't care if they're high functioning, low functioning, mild. They all have that one thing in common. And that's if they get overstimulated, they're going to do things that aren't the right choices. So,
Yeah.
what I was getting at is Nina has this petition that I highly encourage you guys to sign to try to get him a fair trial because he wasn't given that. I'm not saying the boy should be let out completely, like he needs to be in a supervised like group home or something.
Yeah.
But he does not belong in prison. If she gets to walk, he should get that freedom too. So I just wanted to throw that out there. You don't have to, by no means, believe the way that I believe, but I'm an advocate for Nick. So y'all check that out, okay?
Yes. Justice for Nick.
Yes, hashtag justice for Nick. Appeals for Nick.
Hashtags.
Yes. Hashtags, yes.
Well,
But
with that said, you mentioned special needs, and that kind of leads us into who we're doing tonight.
I'm not ready. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm not mentally ready for this.
You are not ready. So we are covering Shanda Vander Ark. This was a relevant case, and I will say that I have been working super hard on building my notes. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I have like 9 pages of notes, but it's just like little things to bring up. But there, outside of the trial, there's almost no, you had to dig for like background history and all kinds of stuff, like her life before the court hearing. So, but
Shitty Shonda.
shitty Shonda. That's what she said the other day, and that's all Jody got. So, yeah.
That's all I got is shitty Shonda. All right.
So
Let's do it.
I'm telling you, I'm here to piss you guys off, and I'm so sorry because, whoo, this case, just rehashing it. I followed this deeply when it was going on, and rehashing it made me infuriated. So, I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna piss you guys off with me. So,
all right.
Jody knows nothing about it. So, Miss
don't.
Shanda Vander Ark was born on March 13th, 1975. She was born in Alabama, I do believe. And her mother was Mildred, and her father's name was Kenneth Trammell. Just like every other, fucked up person that we cover, she had a really messed up background, which again, I had to dig for. So, starting with her father, Kenneth, was actually a convicted child molester.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
We're already off to a great start.
I know.
Okay.
And he was convicted of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old mentally handicapped boy.
Oh man, like this isn't all like so. Okay, can I ask real quick? Was he convicted before Shonda was born? Like, did this take place prior? I mean, if you don't know, it's okay. I'm just curious. Like,
so yes, this happened while she was alive. Reading through because I was not ready for that, but I can piece together.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spotlight.
No,
you're fine.
So Shanda Vander Ark, she's definitely older than us, and I'm an 89 baby, so I know she was already born because he was convicted in 1990.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
yes.
So this was after. Okay, but he probably was doing it before.
Oh,
there's never
first,
just one. Sure. Never just one. Okay, all right.
Never just
I'm already
one.
Angry. But I'm already angry, and you haven't even got into it.
He also was. He was after all that happened. He also was accused of sexually assaulting Shanda herself. And those accusations came about after he also was caught touching a 12-year-old girl right in front of that 12-year-old girl's grandmother.
What a piece of shit.
She came from, prime parenting. Because then on the flip side, her mother, who was also a gym, Miss Mildred, she was actually charged by the FBI. And she, believe it or not, and this is freaking insane, she was charged for hiring a hitman. She paid him $25,000 to kill her mother because her mother.
I was hoping you was going to say the husband.
Her mother was an heiress. Yeah,
Okay,
her mother was an heiress, and she did it for her to be able to inherit $2 million.
Oh my
Fun
God.
fact, her mother's alive. She was not successful.
Okay, so she wasn't successful. Good.
I hope she didn't waste her $25,000 on that hitman because it didn't work. But so she was charged. That's really all I could find about her parents. But we start getting into my research was going into her siblings. There was something that I stumbled across with her sister. Her sister's name was Paige. And they are biological sisters. She said that both her and Shanda were placed into foster care in the state of Alabama between the ages of 6 and 9, and they remained in foster care for 2 years.
That's sad.
So it is sad because we all know the foster care system is shit.
It's not the, yeah.
Wherever you are, it doesn't matter. But I mean, and it just leads on to prove our point of foster care being shitty. They both were physically abused, and it's hard to say this because you'll see the relevancy later. But they were abused, and their foster care parents put them through starvation. They used to beat them with hangers and like ping pong paddles and like anything that they could find to beat them with. So it was not a fun time. They would put them in ice baths and stuff like that to literally just torture them and punish them. I don't even know if they didn't state that they did anything wrong to deserve it either. So,
well, regardless if you did something wrong, no one deserves to be beat with a hanger.
Hell no.
You know, have you ever watched Mommy Dearest? You know what I'm talking about?
What? I don't know.
I can't think of the actress, but she adopted 2 kids and she was abusive. She was not mentally stable whatsoever. But there's a scene in there where she beats the daughter because she used a wire hanger, and she's like, "No wire hangers," and that's what went through my mind. I'm sorry.
It was a wire hanger though. Could you imagine?
Oh God.
It hurts?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Regardless if you've done something that you weren't supposed to do, no one deserves to be beat in that fashion or put in an ice bath or anything. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all about spanking. People might not agree with that, but
I am with you there. I feel like, yeah, that's definitely but like there's a point of going too far, and
that's entirely too far. Yeah.
I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. The ice baths were extremely too far. So,
yeah.
But when it came to their actual family, Paige did state that Shanda was the pride and joy of the family. She did no wrong. She was perfect to everybody. She was smart. So she got a lot of favoritism in her actual family outside of foster care. So, and then as she grew, her sister did state that Shanda, because of the pedestal her family put her on, which, I mean, let's be honest, it was kind of inevitable. She's super entitled, very controlling, and yeah, she was just snooty. Her sister said she started through her young preteen years and teenage years, started to show sociopathic tendencies and behaviors. Which, yeah.
Look at me grin when we're talking about mental health. I'm like, let me grin.
Sociopath. Jody lives for that stuff.
I do. Let me diagnose.
She's like a mental disorder.
Mental disorder. Tell me more.
Well, I'm about to. So, and I'm sorry, there's so much. So I'm just like, I couldn't even memorize it. Their mother ended up passing away.
Great.
And shortly after her mom passed away, Shanda took it upon herself to, slide into bed with her stepdad, because that's what we did.
Like I'm sorry, like I wasn't expecting that. I'm glad I didn't have my coffee in my mouth at the moment because I would have spit it literally everywhere. Like
yeah,
keep it in the family. Okay, cool.
She wanted to stay relevant to that family, I guess, just like you said. So Paige stated that as a teenager, well, she didn't state what age, but she said as a teenager, Paige herself got pregnant. Shanda was outraged that she got pregnant, 1, before her because Shanda was older. And then 2, Shanda was infuriated that her sister got pregnant out of wedlock. Bizarre to me.
You slept with your stepdad. Like, you don't get to be pissed about the fact that she... Oh, okay.
Shanda, do we need to tell you where babies come from? Yeah. Yep. So, at that point, her sister was 16 weeks pregnant, and Shanda took it upon herself to punch her sister in the stomach out of jealousy and anger, I guess. I think that I would say pettiness, but whatever. But it resulted in her sister going to the ER to make sure everything was okay. Um, and that was at 16 weeks. Now at 23, her sister ended up miscarrying. They don't know if it was
Aw.
related to her hitting her in the stomach, but because there was a lot of time that lapsed. But I mean, at that point, there could have been
But
damage
you
done.
know what we talked about it last week. People are currently listening to the case that we covered with Taylor Parker. People grieve with, miscarriages and stuff differently. So if I had to guess, she probably looks back at that moment and blames that moment just to give herself a form of peace. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just an answer, even though it's not any answer that anybody would want, just as a
yeah.
form to cope. That's
Or
just sorry, my
Shonda,
mental health is coming out.
no, or Shonda taking it as a form of satisfaction, like, yes, I was successful, which is disgusting.
uh, yeah, yeah.
She's fucked
Good
up.
God, she is. I don't.
So,
We ain't even into it yet, and I'm already pissed.
oh
Like,
god, it gets real. But her sister later on got married and got pregnant again. During her second pregnancy, Shonda attempted to assault her, but yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
if you want, okay, continue. I'm so
But
like,
Paige's husband stepped in and made sure nothing was done, no harm
hell
was
yeah,
done to Paige. So she
go
was good
Paige's
there.
husband.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure it was it didn't say, but it was a successful pregnancy.
Okay, good.
But she at that point they went their own separate ways. She found her sister to be toxic and stopped talking to her and hadn't heard from her since 2000. So,
Good job,
yeah,
Paige. Listen, toxic's toxic. It don't matter if it's your family or
fact.
not. Toxic's toxic. And if you have to put boundaries up, there's nothing wrong with that. You
No.
have to do what's best for you. So, yeah, hell yeah, Paige. Good for you putting boundaries up.
She put her foot down and made sure she was good. So,
Yeah.
carrying on with Shonda's life, Shonda married a man down the road. His name was Eric Ferguson. Um, they lived a normal marriage. They had 4 kids. I believe the oldest was Nolan, and then they had Millie, and then they had Paul, and then they had Timothy. So that was all 4 of their kids. And throughout their marriage, they resided in Oklahoma. So out of Alabama into Oklahoma. And um, throughout their whole entire marriage and their kids' lives, CPS was called 9 times on this couple.
Why?
9 freaking times. They didn't state why. Like, I'm telling you, this research was so hard to
I
find. Like,
put your ass to work.
you did, but I was devoted. But 9 times, CPS found nothing. Nothing every time they went out there, but one time.
But
And that's when
one
it
time.
started.
Okay.
Yeah, it started getting real from there. So, let me see the year. They said in April 25th of 2009, the the child were I should say the 2 children we're going to focus on through this whole case are going to be the 2 youngest. It's going to be Paul and Timothy. More so Timothy.
Oh,
So
I'm just not ready. Like,
you're
my eyes are
not.
already watering up.
I'm
I'm
so
like,
sorry. I'm so sorry to do this to you. So,
I'm
okay,
not ready.
April 24th, 2009, Timothy, the youngest, will be 3 years old at this time.
No.
Shonda and Eric's CPS had taken all 4 of the kids out of fear of their safety. From what I read, they came in, the house was just deplorable. It was disgusting. It was trashed. It was just filthy. There was, from one of the resources I found, they said sexual abuse there was
Ah,
accusations of that. They didn't get into detail with it, but they couldn't take the kids the night that they showed up. And because of the conditions that the house was in and the layout of their safety concerns, CPS next morning had it's not a warrant to take the kids. They have to
I know
have
what
like an
you're
order.
talking about.
Yes.
They
They have
they
to have an
probably
order
got
to
a
take the
court
kids.
order to remove. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
so they needed that court order, and they did it so quick that the next morning they went back to take the kids. Funny thing, when they went back, the house was spotless.
Oh, was it?
Spotless. Yeah. But at that point in time, pretty sure they had pictures. They had enough evidence to stand on to remove the children, which
Okay, good.
you can't play those games with CPS. You can't.
No,
No, they know. And they were just there last night. You think cleaning it's going to make a difference?
I cleaned
But
it. Don't take my kid.
see, it's done. It's better. It wasn't, but it wasn't just the house. It was a lot of other things.
Well,
So
right, right.
they had to. But they came out, or the children were placed into foster care, and just like her mom and their aunt, they were in foster care for 2 years. Sadly, the children did not stay together. They were all separated, which absolutely breaks my heart when that happens. They just couldn't find a
Oh,
family to take all of them, which sucks. But
that's so sad. And you
I
know
it
that that
really
was
is.
traumatic for them.
Especially with Timothy. And I will say now that Timothy, the youngest, was autistic. He had a bunch of different disorders and things that went into his autism. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But I'm sure it was extremely upsetting for him because change is hard for an
Do
autistic.
you know what, as far as like his autism, was he like high functioning, low functioning? Do you know?
High functioning. I
Okay.
know that loud noises really triggered him.
Well,
Um,
that's not anything unusual.
he had some, I do believe, motor. I have it somewhere. I think he had
No,
something with
I was,
motor,
yeah.
yeah, motor skills and stuff like that. He could still talk, but he was high functioning. But
Okay. Okay.
yeah, but shortly after the kids were taken, Eric and Shonda filed for divorce, which I mean, that puts a lot of stress on a marriage, as I'm sure it was
Hmm.
already not perfect. So
Probably not.
yeah,
She doesn't have a
but
very good history.
fuck no.
Maybe he found out that she screwed the stepdad, and he's like, "Yeah, that's too much for me. That's
You're
that's really bothered
disgusting.
me. You're sick." All right, continue. Sorry.
But Eric did everything the court put in front of him, saying that he needed to do. I know he did classes, he did all the things to get the kids back. He really wanted the kids out of foster care and in his care. Shonda, peace, Mother of the Year. I've said this, I've handed this award out 1,000 times. She gets Mother of the Year. So she literally told CPS, I have done all that I'm willing to do.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah, she's done. She did not participate in classes. She's done. I've done as much as I want to. I'm good.
Well,
So
hearing this is already pissing me off because I know the
I
little cliff
know.
notes. So I just want, okay, continue. Sorry, I'm jumping
No,
ahead. Like,
no, talk. You were. It's devastating,
but
especially when your mom
so,
doesn't care.
well, the fact that I don't want to say it without you going into, no, go ahead, and then I'll say what I want to say. I got you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So Eric does his thing. And at that point, she stopped participating in everything the courts wanted her to do. January 19th, 2012, 2 years of being in foster care, Eric gets full custody back of all 4 children.
Yes.
So props to Eric. A1 dad, fucked up. No, he fucked up. He's got to change things and do what he has to for his kids. Love it.
Okay.
So Shonda, because CPS, they felt her vibe. They like, she doesn't really care. They allotted her supervised visitation, and get this: the supervised visitation was 3 hours a month. That's it.
That's all she got.
That is it.
That's
I mean, you
crazy.
don't care. Why do you need longer visitation?
How often would she actually comply with her 3 hours?
They did not state that, and I'm wondering, was it 3 hours at a time, or was it like an
You
hour?
had to break your 3 hours up for the whole
That
month.
was all I could handle. Yeah. So I don't know. But at that point in time, because of what she said, CPS recommended to the court system that she have her parental rights revoked. But she
Yeah.
got wind of that, and she said Eric can have full custody. and it like put a stop on her parental rights being revoked. So she didn't lose her parental rights because she just willingly gave them to Eric.
Right, that makes sense. Okay.
Yes, which will create a tizzy later. And I think it's weird. They should have just revoked the parental rights to keep things from happening, from the kids being swapped around all the time. It's a mess. But Eric went on and met a new woman, and he married her. Her name was Patricia. They chose to stay in Oklahoma. And Shanda met a gentleman by the name of Adam Vander Ark, and they up and moved to Michigan. So she now resides in Michigan. And I think it's Muskegon. I'm going to mispronounce that. Muskegon County, Michigan. I'm not sure where that is. But
What
after she
family member was
relocated,
Adam shacking up with before Shonda shacked up with? Sorry,
well, they don't
I'm very fixated on that.
they don't say much about Adam, to be truthfully honest, because he's in and out.
Okay.
But when they relocated to Michigan, they did give birth to a new child. It was a boy.
Oh God.
His name is Gabriel. Of course, in the court documents, because he's a minor, he's referenced as G, to keep his name under wraps. So, but they relocated, and as she was residing in Michigan, the kids stayed in Oklahoma with Eric, and you can imagine it put a rift in the relationship with her kids. She didn't care anyway. The relationship kind of drifted, and she really did not have a relationship with her kids. She stopped calling.
Okay.
She stopped doing things. So continued to be a shitty mom. But in May of 2021, Eric and Patricia decided that, it didn't state why, but Patricia wanted Eric to be home more because she was raising the kids. She had her own kid, not with Eric, by the name of Chelsea. And she was raising all these kids by herself. And again, Timothy being special needs, he took a little bit more work.
That's a lot.
But she was great. She was great with him, but he became a lot to handle. So she begged Eric to be home more. I'm not sure if he was working or what, but they decided that they were going to send Timothy to live with Shanda, again, due to her being able to struggle with his needs and Eric not being there as much as he needed to. So that is where, if her parental rights were revoked, he wouldn't have been able to just shove Timothy to Shanda. And we already know she's a shitty mom. Why are you going to give this kid to Shanda?
When he needs stability for his autism.
Facts. Oh, and it breaks my heart. And then at this point, Paul Ferguson, which is her second youngest, he is 19 at this point, and he is already living with Shanda. If you look into the videos, Paul is an odd child. He's one of those.
I can't imagine why.
He's one of those where he's just not mature for being 19. And Paul, believe it or not, through his trial, I'm pretty sure it's self-diagnosed with, what did he call it? Stockholm syndrome.
What?
Yeah, it's like where they strive for approval. I don't really understand it. I don't want to say something and be wrong, but
I don't.
Go ahead. You probably know more about it.
No. You can. Honestly, I don't know that much about that. That's not something that we usually hear. Don't get me wrong. Now, we get a lot of people that self-diagnose. They go on the Dr. Google, and by the end of the day, they're like,
that's what I'm about
I
to
have
do.
schizophrenia. And it's like, no, you don't. Because if you did have schizophrenia, you wouldn't say it, because the auditory and visual hallucinations you experience, they're real to you. You're not going to tell me that you're experiencing that because it's real. You know what I mean? So seeing people self-diagnose themselves is not anything uncommon for me. It's actually very especially in the forensic population.
I'm not
when they're
sure
trying
if
to
he's
get out of
self-diagnosed. Oh yeah. Oh, I guarantee it. And he was just trying to make an excuse for himself. And you'll see why later. But I Googled it, And it says
Oh, good.
Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological phenomenon that describes when a victim develops feelings or empathy for an identification with their captor or abuser. So he's basically saying his mom was an abuser and he held empathy for her. He was willing to do her bidding. You just created this weird relationship with her, which we'll get more into, but him personality wise was just an odd child.
You know, tomorrow when I go to work, no, wait, I'm off tomorrow. I forgot. But Friday when I go back, I'm going to pull my DSM-5 out of my desk and I'm going to look because now obviously there's a lot of diagnoses, in the DSM-5. I mean, that book alone is like this thick. It's huge.
Holy
But
cow.
oh yeah, there's a lot. Like there's all kinds, but I feel like that's more of a personality disorder. I'm over here trying to
It
analyze
has
it,
to. No,
but
it definitely is.
yeah. So
If you look
okay,
into the
okay.
videos, it definitely is. But Paul, I don't want to be disrespectful, but he was very keep to himself. You could tell he didn't have a lot of friends. He was kind of shy, kind of nerdy. He did stream on video games and stuff like that. He was really into putting Legos together and stuff like that. But he was one of those like 19 years old and he's doing karate in his room on a camera. Like,
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Get
he
that
would
black
pop
belt.
you up. So,
My
and
ninja star.
he his sister described him in a thing where he from what I read, he got told to go live with his mom because he didn't want to be an adult. He wanted somebody to take care of him. And Shanda was going to baby him and did baby him. And he found it in her. Oddly enough.
Why didn't you baby your kids when they were kids?
I don't know. I feel like parents as they feel like they can have a different relationship with their kids as they're adults. And some parents just don't care either way. Adult, kid.
I get that. My birth father, who I have nothing to do with, it's like he didn't want to be a dad when he
Yeah.
had an opportunity to be a dad. And then when here I'm a grown ass woman and he's like, you shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, I'm 34, sir. Like you
Who
shouldn't
are
have told me
you?
this when I was 14. Like piss off, Greg. Like
You are
sorry.
nobody. But yeah,
Continue.
he was super odd. But he found a caregiver in his mommy. His mommy was not going to shun him away and make him be an adult. So
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
So Paul is living with her. She has Gabriel, and Timothy goes to live with her. Eric and Patricia, they pack up Timothy's stuff. They meet her halfway, trade him off, and he goes off and lives with them. Well, then
Hmm.
Adam ends up having a stroke. And
Oh no.
I know, January of 2022, he has a stroke, which I'm not sure why, but it forces him to move out and go move in with his parents, which why can't your wife take care of you? I don't understand.
Because she can't even take care of herself. So like
But at this point she's taking care of her kids. Well, some of them.
in her mind, she's taking care of her children.
Right.
In the public's mind, you're a shitty mom. You're shitty
Yeah.
Shonda. Like,
Yeah. She has a blood sugar thing where it always drops, so she has a service dog. Babies that, loves it. She obviously is babying. They don't speak much on Gabriel because him being a minor in their relationship, but she definitely babies Paul. But I'm sorry if this is vulgar. Paul won't get off the teat, so he does everything mommy wants. So yeah.
I don't know why what's going through my head is given the history. Was there some form of an incestual relationship going on with Paul and Shonda?
Mm,
It's food for thought. I mean, especially given the fact he was very
I,
empathetic with his mother.
yeah. It does not say. It does not say, but
You're
that is food for
you're
thought.
fucking sick, Paul. Like, all right, let's continue.
Anyway, so Adam's out of the picture. He moves in with his parents. So at this point, it's Shonda, Timothy, Gabriel, Paul living in this house.
Got it.
From the point of him having a stroke, everything spirals. This is when everything takes a turning point. Um, So at this point, and this is what's most mind-boggling, Shanda was working on being an attorney. She
Ew.
was, yes, and get this, she passed her bar on her first try.
She must be very intelligent.
Super intelligent. She was second in her class, and at this point in time, she is working for two judges, as a clerk or as a clergy. Is that what you? Yeah, a clerk. She's working for a clergy. That's a church. Sorry, guys. She doesn't work in a church. She would burn and go to hell. But she's working as a clerk for two different judges. So she is working non-stop trying to become an attorney. So working a lot, super, super intelligent. So she obviously knows right from wrong. She knows law. She knows all that.
Yeah.
So um so for months, like multiple, like I'm talking like 6 months, Shanda and her older brother, or in Timothy's older brother, Paul, like I said, 19 at the time, started brutally torturing Timothy. And this is where this whole thing blows up. And it's
Was
disgusting.
there any reason, not that any reason would be a reason to do that, but did they explain why, like what triggered that to just be like, you know what, we're going to do this? Any, you know what I mean? Like, did a significant incident happen with him? Like maybe he was having, um, an episode overstimulated or anything like that?
So they did not explain that. And she covered her ass by lying so much that you had no idea. Like, she justified everything that they did as punishments. That's what she called everything that they
Okay, I
put
got
him
you.
through as a punishment for all kinds of different things, which we're gonna break into. So, and we're gonna get into the nitty gritty of this court.
Well,
Why she
not
got
that I
this?
was giving it an excuse or anything. I was just curious if there was like something.
No,
God, okay. No, I got
no.
you. All right.
Not that they said there was nothing. Which, I mean, he's an autistic kid. He
Even
has
it
functioning.
wouldn't
I'm sure he
matter.
can be a little frustrating at times,
Right.
but that's no excuse for doing literally
Right.
everything
No,
that they
no,
did.
no. And I'm not condoning it. I'm just curious to
Yeah.
like what
Oh
it,
God,
yeah.
you're not ready.
Continue.
Oh
I'm
God, you
not
are not
ready.
ready. This poor boy. Now that I've thrown this out there, so and that's what I just said. They would justify them abusing him by saying he was acting out, and it was their the way they tortured him were punishments for him acting out. And some of the ways that they said he was acting out were just absurd to justify what they did. So they but nothing he did deserved any of the punishments that they put him through. And we're going to go into the nitty gritty of what his
I don't
punishments
want to go
were.
into the nitty
Well,
gritty. Like I'm
I
not.
know. And I'm going to say a trigger warning because, again, at this point in time, Timothy is 15 years old. He's a sweet little baby, still, sweet minor, 15 years old, autistic. And this poor boy,
Probably has the mentality of like an 8-year-old.
I'm not even ready to tell
That's
you because it literally is going to piss me off even more. So, trigger warning, it gets very gruesome and gross. So,
hmm.
or sad. It's not gruesome and gross. It's sad and sick. So, first big thing that they touched on in the case is, as a punishment, they would starve Timothy. Um, they said that they would starve him as a punishment for him stealing food without asking. He would take food out of the fridge, the
Well,
freezer,
he's
the pantry without asking. Does that deserve starvation?
well, the thing he probably was stealing food because he was fucking hungry.
He's 15. My 14-year-old, he's going to be 15 in like 6 months. He eats me out of house and home. He doesn't stop eating.
I felt like a bad parent when I was yelling at Colin because he was getting up in the middle of the night and getting junk food and taking it in his room. And the whole thing was, I don't care that they're getting food. It's he don't clean up his trash out of his room. But
I
that's my thing.
I relate to you so much. Jaden does that too,
Yeah.
but
So
I'm
now I
not going
don't
to
feel
fucking
bad for.
starve him.
No, I'm not going to be like, guess what? You're not eating for the rest of the month. Like
Like that, and that's
I
like
can't do that. But
That is the extent that they went. It wasn't just like, we're going to starve you until you're not going to eat till dinner. Like, it was a long period of time. So then it got into the fact that on top of starving him, they put locks on the fridge, the freezer, and the pantry to keep him out of it. That's how far the starvation got taken. Could you imagine?
That's disgusting.
Disgusting. And her justification during the court hearing, because this was all on court TV, every single second of this case was on court TV. And they said in the case, her justification for putting locks on the fridge, freezer, and the pantry was that he would get up, and when he got food without asking, he would leave the door to the fridge and the freezer open. And I'm like, okay, that's worth that? This poor baby. And now you're just making it even worse. He's starving, and he's now going to be more triggered to get food.
Yeah. Well, you know, what's a lot of the autistic patients that we have gotten in the past, a big fixation for them is food, believe it or not. And that we use that as a reward system sometimes in circumstances where we're having a lot of behavioral problems that we need to get under control. You know, we might make it a special treat at like a bag of Doritos and a Pepsi for them.
But you follow through with that promise, don't you?
Well, yeah, we follow through with the promise. If they meet their end of the deal, yeah. But we're not. I just wanted to bring that up. That's a very common fixation for people that have autism spectrum disorder.
It's familiarity. It's an act that he knows, and a lot of people eat for comfort, especially when they're stressed out, they're overstimulated, which he, being autistic, gets easily. Stress.
They're also really picky about food.
Yeah.
You know, it's textures, shapes, things that we might not necessarily think about. They get fixated on.
Mm-hmm. I was a manager at Pizza Hut when I was younger, and there was a gentleman, and he always ordered his pizza in squares. And it was a habit to cut in triangles. And anytime it got messed up, he was so upset. And he eventually told us it's because of his autistic daughter, and she needs to have it in squares.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So at that point, he is being starved. So he is desperate for food. And there was a night where Paul, he stayed up late gaming. He left the crust of a burger out on a plate, and Timothy got a hold of it and ate it. Shanda took this boy and made him vomit the food back up.
What the fuck is wrong with her?
Yeah, you ready to punch her in the face? Because I ain't done.
Oh, God.
So, after that, there was many incidences, but when there was one point where Shanda was at work, or elsewhere, she would be wherever running around, but most of the time it was at work. She would always, because, you know, Paul was mommy's boy and did everything she said, Paul was in charge. Paul was the punishment enforcer. She would text him, and in the court case, that is mainly the evidence they had. These constant, non-stop text messages between her and Paul. And it was her telling Paul what to do with him and how to punish him and what he needs to do to him, and he needs to put this up. And like, he constantly did everything his mom said. So, and he did it. 19 years old, you know this is wrong behavior, and you still did it.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't care about your brother. You were the one carrying out the punishment. So at that point, she made Paul her little lackey. And as the months went on and they were, it was getting deeper and deeper, she had ordered cameras to be put all over the house, motion sensors and motion censored cameras all over the house. And she would have a camera on Timothy 24/7. 24/7.
For what purpose?
So to watch him, to make sure it got to the point where Timothy, and it sounds so Harry Potterish, it's terrible. There was a closet, a small closet underneath their stairs. That's where he resided. That's where they put him. There would be a tarp on the floor. They would lay him in on the tarp. Most of the time, he was in his underwear or not wearing clothes. And they would have these cameras on him at all times. The punishments there was one time where she stated that Timothy kept her up all night long by setting the sensors off. The sensors that you put on him, and every time he moved, the sensors would go off. It kept her up all night. And as a punishment, they kept him from sleeping. So this boy was starved. He was sleep deprived and just flat out being tortured for no reason. So other punishments would go into, she would make him hold his arms up. Like literally and this is so she could see that he is following through with his punishments. He would sit in his little closet with his arms up or on his head. And they had motion sensor bracelets so that she knew when his arms would come down or move. Disgusting.
That's not punishment. That's abuse.
Abuse, 100%.
Call it what you want to call it, shitty Shanda, but you abused this boy.
Yeah. And this was for long periods of time. The punishments were not quick. There was a time where she did this was multiple times. She would force him to do wall sets or sits or whatever, where you like squat like you're sitting in a chair and your back's up against the wall. And we all know when we work out, that stuff hurts. He would do that for hours. And he wasn't allowed to move. She had a camera on him. He wasn't allowed to move. Yeah. For no reason. So, she did the wall sets. He had sensors on his wrist, and all this stuff. If he was laying in the closet and she couldn't see his face, they'd reposition him. And every time he'd move away from the camera and she could see it, he'd go in there and they'd make him sit up. And like if he'd fall, she had the camera on him to see if he was falling asleep. And if he was falling asleep and they didn't want him to, they knew to go in there and wake him up, do whatever they had to. So the camera served a purpose of her watching him to make sure he was doing everything he wanted her to do. Or said that backwards.
That she wanted
he was doing. Yeah. So there was a point where she made him walk the stairs. They had stairs, and one of his punishments was walking up down the stairs for hours. He had to clean the garage as a punishment naked or in his underwear. I'm not sure if he was fully naked, but I think he was in his underwear. I don't know what.
I mean, I get a cleaning punishment. Like, I remember getting grounded when I was younger and being, getting assigned things in the house. But my mom never made me do it naked or in my underwear.
No. And it's just, and you got to think, this boy is just losing weight by the day.
And he's sleep deprived.
He's sleep deprived, and you're making him clean the garage. Already in an uncomfortable naked position. So oh God, and sadly it gets fucking worse. So we already went over the fact that she kept him up all night purposefully. And so he was going days. I'm talking days without sleep, this poor boy. Days without food. They would lock him in that small closet. There were alarms on the door so she could hear if he gets out. To the point that at one point she bought shackles for his ankles and zip ties. She would zip tie his wrists. Sometimes they would be in the front, sometimes they would be in the back, depending on how she was feeling. But she would chain him to this room, this little tiny closet underneath the stairs. And then when he wanted to go to the bathroom, it was on their time. And that was a privilege, going to the bathroom to her. If you sit up and do what if you sit up and do what you are told to do, I'll let you go to the bathroom. He had 2 minutes to go number 2. And he had, I'm pretty sure, 30 or 45 seconds to go number 1. And they watched him.
God, some of my pisses take 2 minutes alone. Like,
yep.
Sorry, that was probably TMI, but like, that's...
Yep. And then Paul would get pissed off when he'd soil himself. Timothy would soil himself on the tarp in the room because he had to clean it. And some of the things that his brother said in these text messages, I just want to pummel him into the ground. He's pissing me off. I'm not dealing with him today. Da, 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 da. And so he didn't give two shits. It was freaking terrible. But um, there was, there's so much. Um, I came across oh my gosh, I came across a video and it's absolutely horrendous. His brother, I mentioned, streamed while playing video games. There was one particular video where his brother was streaming playing Minecraft. And you literally hear Timothy in the background screaming for help. He yelled for help and he said, "Sorry, that's my little brother." And carried on. Gross. It's freaking gross. And Timothy's an adult. You know what you're doing is wrong.
Aren't you a
told
little
nobody.
old to be playing fucking Minecraft, Paul?
Listen.
I'm
Paul.
sorry, but
So when Timothy was given food, because they had to keep his energy up somehow when he was given food, you want to know what it was?
What?
White bread soaked in hot sauce. Not regular hot sauce. I'm talking like one of them, it says Elijah's Extreme Regret, made with the 2 hottest peppers in the world.
If they didn't want to take care of him, if he was this much of an inconvenience, we have group homes and psychiatric care facilities that would have gladly taken him in and nurtured him and got him to a group home where he would be loved and cared for. And it wouldn't be an inconvenience if he soiled himself.
No.
He could eat when he wanted to eat. Like, why? I just don't understand what you get out of torturing somebody that you don't care about. If you don't care about him, let him go.
Let him go. Yeah, don't take care of him. Give him up. But the thing is, why only Timothy? Why not Gabriel as well?
Because he's special needs.
But the thing is, and that's the thing that frustrates me the most. Timothy is high functioning. So he didn't soil himself. He only soiled himself because they wouldn't allow him to go to the bathroom. He knew how to go to the bathroom. He knew how to eat. He knew how to talk. He was just overstimulated at times by loud noises. Whereas one of his punishments were loud noise monitoring things that would go off in his ears.
They intentionally did that. That's
100%. But that's the thing. He was self-sufficient. Yeah, he might have taken a little extra care or attention, but it wasn't like he was a non-functioning autistic person that took all of your time and resources and attention.
Right.
It's gross. But they also used, it wasn't just to feed him to give us nourishment. They would use the bread and the hot sauce as a punishment as well. Like, here's food. I know you want it, but you're in trouble. It's covered in hot sauce. You're going to eat it because you're freaking starving. So it's freaking disgusting.
It's gross.
Yeah. They also deprived him of water. They didn't dive too much into that, so I don't know the extent of depriving him of water, but it's disgusting. But starving, so like he was starving so much that there was an incident where he snuck, I don't know how he got out, but he snuck out of his closet and he got into, I don't know if it was sitting out on the countertop. He had to have gotten into the fridge and the freezer, but he had eaten a pack of raw hamburger, some frozen chicken nuggets, and a pack of raw uncooked bacon in one sitting. Because he was
starving,
hungry. And I'm like shaking because I'm so freaking mad just going over this. I'm so mad. Like, my kids in my world, and like, you favor all of them, but I just couldn't fathom doing this to any of my kids, let alone picking and choosing through my kids.
I couldn't. There's no way.
It's disgusting. But I already mentioned the bathroom timers because I'm hopping around, but the night before, Timothy, she starved him to death. I'm just gonna release that out there because we're coming up to the night before. At this point in time, and it literally makes me want to cry just freaking telling you this, that boy, 15 years old, weighed 69 pounds.
That's so unhealthy.
Yep. 15 years old, for his height, the average weight was 132 pounds, and that boy was 69 pounds. There was a few days before his death that Paul had sent his mom a picture of Timothy standing in the kitchen, and they showed it in court. And I watched the whole court date, but they didn't let you see the picture. But I had to filter through. Somebody eventually released it. It was disgusting how skinny this boy was. But he sent that to his mom. He said, "Mom, he's really skinny." His exact words, quote, "I think we should actually feed him," unquote.
You think?
Yeah. So
You
anyway,
think?
yeah, the night before he died, he walked around. He was very in and out of. He was actively dying of starvation. Let's be real. He was doing this tumbling. He was falling around, walking when they were walking in places. And Mom of the Year told him he was full of shit. Quit faking. This is ridiculous. And she goes, "I bet you if you stop, would you eat a whole pizza right now?" And then he stopped. She said, "That's just proof that you were full of shit." Because he stopped. That boy was starving. He was going to buck it up any way he could.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. So at that point, the next day carries on, and this is literally the night before he died. He was still continuing to do this falling, the stumbling, acting really like out of it. And
Well,
his
his
mom,
sugar was probably like extremely low.
yeah, oh, guarantee it. But his mom sent text messages back and forth to Paul saying she's sick of this shit. Um, she said, as a punishment, put him. She said to put him in an ice bath, to see how
Just
he
like her
reacts.
childhood.
Mm-hmm. To see how he reacts and see if that would get him to panic or have this burst of energy to prove that he's lying. Everything was to prove that he was lying. This was like a game to her. Like it was a battle between her and Timothy who was going to win. So he nothing. He told her she wanted a camera on him while he was in the ice bath. Paul sat in there with him, and at one point he still wasn't coming to. He was just laying in the bathtub. She didn't want him to be comfortable in the bathtub, which was mentioned in a text message. "I don't want him to be comfortable in there. Make him sit up." And he was not. She said, "At this point, I don't care if you go and make Gabriel some pizza rolls." She goes, "And tell him that you'll give him some pizza rolls if he sits up." And her exact words were, "I don't care if they are or I don't care if it's only two of them. Don't tell him it's only two. And I don't care if they're frozen rather than cooked. Be ready to pull it away from him when he responds." In a text message. And then ask
She's
Paul, yeah, yeah.
I hope she rots in the deepest depths of hell that she possibly can. Like,
It's disgusting. And then she proceeded to ask Paul, does he respond if you smack him against the face? And he's still breathing. He's still, he's emaciated. He's starving to death. And at this point, you got him in a freaking bathtub with no fat on him. What is going to happen? And we're talking hours in this ice bath. Hours. It's just ew, it's gross. So yeah. And the when she the after the ice bath, Shanda came home from work. She drug Timothy back into his little closet under the stairs. She looked him in the eyes and said, "You owe me the biggest apology in the world."
no,
And
he doesn't owe you a fucking thing.
not a fucking thing. What did this boy do? And then she said, if she gets her apology, he can go to the bathroom. Like it's
I
a
think
freaking
you owe
privilege.
him the biggest apology in the entire world.
Well, I think the biggest apology was letting him go at that point where he was headed. It's like if you weren't going to let him go in the physical sense, let him go where he's going.
Right.
But Then she proceeded, because he's taking deep, shallow breaths because he's actively dying. She shuts his jaw forcefully and says, "See, you don't have to keep your mouth open to breathe, dummy." Let me tell you, that was the last words she spoke to her son. Oh, it gives me goosebumps. Oh God, it makes me so freaking mad. So,
I hope that
yeah,
they do everything times 10 to her in jail that she
I
did to
do too.
him.
I do too. So the next morning, or that night, she sends Paul a text message after she leaves the closet doing that. She says, "Please set your alarm for 6 a.m. I ended up dragging him back into the small room. I wasn't going to risk him having any access to the tub to take a warm bath or other things overnight." And sorry, I'm reading this quote for quote. "He's still trying to be stupid, but we'll tell you more tomorrow when I take you to work, describing how many different ways I've proved he is still faking. He's still doing it, though. It's ridiculous." Quote, that is a full text message, end quote, from her. So she still thinks he's
I
faking.
literally have no words.
Yeah. It's, I read, or I saw a TikTok and I was like, no way. And I went back and then I was just in it. And oh. So, morning of July 6th, 2022, the day that he died. Shanda and Paul woke up. They went to go check on him. He was unresponsive. And at this point, there's cameras all over their house. So they played this video in court. They, the, your first response when you find a family member or loved one unresponsive, what would you do, Jody?
Well, I'm going to call 911.
You think she
Obviously, I'm
would?
also as a medical. Well, no, she didn't call 911 because she's responsible. She doesn't want to be caught.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to tell you, she thought he was faking. Ridiculous. It just doesn't end.
She says that she knows he wasn't faking. She's just going to say that.
100%. So they found him unresponsive. They tried to wake him by doing, they moved him by moving him, sitting him up. While they were doing this, of course, the body responds in different ways, puking and all kinds of stuff. They tried to revive him by doing CPR for, I can't tell you how long. At some point, she lets Paul take over CPR because he's not responding. Paul actually on the video camera says, "Should we call 911?" She said, "Not yet." After probably 10 minutes of trying to revive him. So, with that being
He
said,
probably died. He'd probably been dead for hours. That's the thing.
the officer said he watched the video because they keep a camera on him 24/7. He died through the night.
Yeah,
They could
yeah.
watch when he took his
He'd
last
been
breath.
gone for a long time.
Yeah, devastating. But let me tell you, it took 18 minutes. 18 minutes passed before they called 911. Like bonkers. I can't. Oh God, it just makes me so mad. Um, but when they called 911, the second she hung up, you could hear on the camera and see on the camera they were in panic mode to cover their ass now. Now they're in
Fuck
survival mode.
you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
So she tells Timothy in the video, go get some pants. She asked him to put pants on him and clothes on him, and then asked Tim or Paul where his belt was because they wanted to put Paul's belt on him to make it look like he was normal and he just died on his own. Then the cops arrived. They found the house absolutely filthy and deplorable. Diapers, which I'm not sure why diapers unless they were on Timothy, they found all over the floor. It was just disgusting. And you can find videos and pictures of their house, their fridge, everything. So the cops walk in. The first thing they noticed was that there were motion cameras everywhere. There were sensors and locks on everything, and they just got a really bad vibe. So then Shanda proceeds to say that she noticed that a couple days before that he was super skinny and that she was going to make a doctor's
Oh,
appointment.
did she? Oh, was she? Was
Yeah.
she?
Yeah, she was apparently. She says it. It's got to be true.
Fuck off, Shonda.
Yeah. So then The police keep going through the house. Oh my God, if you watch these videos, the act this woman put on was disgusting. I just wanted to just snatch her up. But they saw the cameras, they saw the shackles, the locks, the sensors. There was hot sauce in the bathroom, which they were like, why do you need hot sauce in the bathroom? And obviously it was from the ice bath the night before. The police did their investigation. The coroners took Timothy's body away. As soon as the police left, her and Paul took all the cameras and put them in a Ziploc baggie and took them down to a local gas station and threw them away in the dumpster like nobody would find them.
Oh. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why? If you didn't do anything, Shonda, why would you have the cameras?
Yeah. And then to explain how skinny he was, she said that this is something he does, and he does hunger strikes to piss her off.
Oh,
And he was
does
on a
he?
hunger strike. Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
can't with this
put the full
woman.
blame on herself. So then shortly after the cops came, he died. Still in the month of July, Paul and Shonda were arrested. And
Good.
thankfully, lovely Paul, little chicken shit Paul, took a plea deal.
Oh,
Chicken
did
shit
he?
Paul took a plea deal. He pled guilty, so he only got first-degree child abuse. And he promised,
Ah,
yeah, no, nothing to do with his murder. And he carried out every punishment. He literally physically killed him.
he's just as responsible as what she is.
I think he's more responsible. So to make your comparison, she was the Gypsy Rose and he was the Nick Godejohn.
Yeah.
Carried out the act. She called the shots.
Mm.
So, and she did do things though, unlike to our knowledge, unlike
Yeah.
Gypsy Rose. But so Paul took that plea deal. He was only found guilty of first-degree child abuse, and he was told to testify, or he said he would testify against Shonda in court. The trial started for Shonda on December 13th of 2023, and God, I wish I could pronounce this. Muskegon County. I'm not sure. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry if somebody
No,
knows
you're
it.
good.
She was sentenced on January 23rd. So this lasted over a month, her trial. During the trial, she played dumb. Oh, and it literally infuriated me. Like the guy was questioning her and she would be like, well, I mean, I don't remember it, but if that's what the video shows, well, I don't remember that, but if that, I'll take your word for it. I don't remember that, but if that's what you say, that's
I think
literally
you
the whole.
remember a lot, Shonda. But you know what? When they do that, it just shows how narcissistic they really are and how dangerous to society they are. You know what
Oh,
I
it's
mean?
too
Like it just
disgusting.
shows like you're not helping your case. You're making yourself look like a bigger piece of shit than you already are.
No, you're dumb. And that's the thing. We have text messages literally laid out and video. You are the reason why the videos are all there. All there. You did this to yourself. But it was so funny that she just played dumb when there's just proof all over. But um she I'm trying to so the funniest thing and the most iconic thing of her court case, she was on the stand and they showed her a picture, which before she went onto the stand days earlier, you know what they're going to present you with. She saw these pictures. She saw them all. So she had already seen them, didn't react to them. But then when the cameras are on her for court TV, they show her a picture of her son that Timothy texted her days before he died about where he said, he's too skinny. I think we should actually feed him. They showed it to her and she covered her mouth and instantly leaned over into the trash can and puked in the trash
Oh,
can
did she?
and made this huge dramatic, oh God, I'm so sorry. And just like, give me a minute type of thing. And they called her out on it. They were like, you saw these pictures a few days ago and did nothing. And she's like, well, I got nauseous. But
Oh, I bet you did. I bet you got
yeah,
nauseous because your ass knew you're going to fucking jail.
yeah, yeah. So that if anything you look up in this case, go look at that and just laugh because it's so fake. You didn't give a shit what you were doing to this boy. You saw those pictures earlier and had no reaction, but now you're putting on a show for the court. Cool. And the funny thing is, her trial was going on in the courtroom. Not for the judge she worked for, but she worked for that court.
Oh,
Yeah, in that courthouse. So funny how tables turn. Um, all of her children spoke out during the trial in agreement to locking her away for life, talking
good.
against her. Paul, of course, testified against her, of course, making himself look all shiny, and he was victimized too. And that's where
I
he
bet.
self-diagnosed himself with Stockholm syndrome, which
Mm-hmm.
basically called her his abuser when you were spoiled
Okay.
freaking rotten. But whatever. So coming to the end, Shanda was found guilty by a jury to open murder and first degree child abuse. She got life in prison with no chance of parole.
As she should never be released to the community ever.
Facts.
They should
Facts.
execute her, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Like,
I wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly agree. Um, the thing that sat with me and resonated with me was, this is also something that I encourage you guys to look up. In her sentencing, the judge gave his speech, and one of the things, it was more, but one of the things is he showed, there was no pictures of Timothy for a year because of course she kept everybody away. She didn't let anybody take pictures. She controlled who came into the house. But he turned around a
well,
picture.
she had to hide what she was doing. She
Absolutely.
knew what she was doing was wrong.
So he looks like a baby in this picture because there's no like recent picture of him. He turns it around on a tablet and he says, "I choose to remember your son like this, with full life in his eyes, smiling, loving life." And his exact words in a quote, "People know what you are. People know what you did. Timothy won." And I loved that because I felt like she thought it was a game, because in some of the text messages she says he won't win this. He said, "Timothy won. You don't win because justice in this case prevailed." And that was from Judge, I think his name was Judge Casel, is who she had. But she is currently serving life with no parole in Huron Valley Women's Correctional Facility. Paul, with his um, lovely plea deal, still got the maximum with his plea deal, 30 years to 100 years. And he's serving in Oaks Correctional Facility in Mesquite Township. And you ready for this? They're both appealing all of their charges.
Oh, okay. Well, I wish you luck with that,
Mm,
fuckers.
yeah, and
Like,
I
and
know.
he took a plea deal. Like,
Piece of shit. Piece
you
of shit.
know, I really do mean it. I hope they do everything that she did to Timothy times 10. They're to take the hottest bottle of hot sauce that they can and shove it up her fucking twat and just let her, like that. What I think what tore me up the most about this is her keeping his mouth closed and calling him dumb. And that's the last thing that he heard before he died.
I know. Oh God, it's literally making my heart wrench. This
How
infuriated me
could,
from the first video. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
well, if that she has to be, given the nature of the case, and this obviously must have been aired. Well, you said it was aired on court TV. They
Whole
probably have
thing.
her locked in. You know, she has to be in seg, like seg. There's no way if she's released in general pop, which they should. Like, if anybody's listening in, you should totally really. They'll kill her.
She's in
The
Gym Pop.
prison.
Fun fact.
Ah, fuck.
Yep. Fun fact.
Well, I hope they get a hold
There
of her.
is, now that this has happened, there's videos everywhere. You hear every call that each one of them makes out of the jail. And she's talking to a friend about her cellmate keeping her up and screaming for like 4 hours.
Good. I hope that you get a sleep deprived. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You deserve
So
it.
I
What
think
a
that punishment should fit the crime in some incidences where like they should suffer the way that their victims suffered.
absolutely. She deserves every shitty thing that ever happens to her.
Yeah.
Every shitty thing.
A sweet, sweet autistic minor. Oh, it just makes me so mad. But that is currently Shanda Vander Ark. You guys can do the research. There's videos out there everywhere. You can watch the whole court thing on YouTube. It's insane if you just want to keep digging in and just hating her like I do. So
Yeah. If you do any videos or anything, I encourage you to use hashtag Shitty Shanda. That's what she should always be known as.
Shitty Shanda.
Shitty Shanda. Shitty
Yeah.
Shanda. So I guess now, do you have questions that you're wanting to ask the girls?
Of course. And I'm sorry if I talked like to the listeners. I talked really fast. There was so much to go over, and we're already over
Well, no, it's
our
a
hours.
lot.
So
Yeah, we're over our hour, but it's
yes.
okay.
But
All
it's all
right.
right.
It's the girls' spotlight.
Hey.
Can you hear it?
Yes. Hi, ladies.
Hi, ladies. So we need to know, what do you think of old Shitty Shonda? I swear they said ooh. That's their go-to.
I heard ooh again, I swear.
Oh, yeah, they probably did say ooh. Because, I mean, what else can you possibly say about her other than ooh?
So I'm curious to know if Shonda has any regret for how she treated Timothy.
Yeah. Do y'all think that she's got any regret towards how she treated Timothy? I heard yep.
I heard yep too.
But do you think she regrets it because she was caught?
Ooh. Nothing.
Yep.
Yep. I heard it loud and
I
clear.
figured. I don't think that she regrets what she did. I think she regrets that she was caught. Yep.
100%.
See, yep again.
Yep. Do they think that the dad should be held responsible? Because I mean, let's be honest, he handed him over outside of the court system.
Yeah. Do you think the dad should be responsible? I heard it sounded like crime. Yeah. Did you hear that? Yeah.
I kind of agree.
So I need to know, is Timothy at peace? Oh, did you hear that? Help me. I heard help me really clear. I hope that wasn't Timothy. I'm like, I hope that wasn't Timothy. Is Timothy at peace? Did you hear Tim?
I did. Oh, I was wondering if you heard that too. I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, Tim.
He's got to be at peace. Anywhere was better than where he was at.
I heard justice. Did you hear that?
The justice was served for sure.
Yes.
Do they think they're going to win their appeals?
Do you think that they'll get the appeal? No.
I swear I heard Shonda in the background. That was weird. I can't think of anything else. Does Paul feel bad that he didn't do anything? He didn't tell anybody?
Yeah, does Paul have any regrets? No. And then I heard I do, but I think someone else is chiming in and they're like, I have regrets.
All right.
I love
the
paranormal.
I do too.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Out.
Bye. Did you hear them? Bye. They're like, bye.
I heard out. They're out. Peace out.
Peace out. We're done.
All right. Well, we went over our time yet again, but we love this stuff, and we know you guys, if you're listening, love it too. So there you go.
Yeah. So y'all tune in next week because it'll be another doozy. So
yeah. So what do they need to do, Jody?
You guys give us a follow. I never do the closing, so I'm like you always do. I'll
never rolls.
Make sure you guys are giving us a follow on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. We are on Spotify if you are not a video person. So make sure you guys are following. We do intend on doing giveaways in the future, but you know what? You're not going to know if you're not subscribed. So get to it, and we will see you guys next week.
Yes. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.